Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leader Without podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, my wonderful new friend, probably, not probably, surely the most fashionable guest I've had on my podcast so far, Mr. Robert from Switzerland. We got connected to an amazing friend of ours, Daniel. I've had Daniel on my podcast last year. It was amazing story. Is like a brother. We're going to become so close now. Amazing guy. And he said, listen, I asked him, do you know anyone was a goosebump inducing story that would be amazing guest on my podcast? He said, yes, I know the perfect guy for you. So unbeknownst, we get connected and we had a chat. What was it, last week or the week before? It was amazing chat. And I said, listen, say no more. Shut up. Save it for the podcast because it's going to be a fun one. So just a little bit about Robert. Robert is originally from Ghana, the country of Abedi Pele, one of my favorite players, and football is king there. And now he's based in Switzerland, one of the most beautiful countries in the world. He's doing a lot of great things. He's first and foremost, he loves helping people, especially helping people grow and find the best version of themselves. And his brand is one of the most beautiful brands I've heard. And that is GQ man, and not GQ in sense of, superficial fashion, but God qualified man. And that's absolutely phenomenal. That's something that really resonates with me. He's doing that and is doing a lot of good things. He's throwing a major event in September. We're going to talk about that. He's doing a lot of things. A little bit about him is a husband, a father,
Not a father yet.
yeah, a God, son of a God, and doing a lot of great things. So without any further ado, brother, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo. What an awesome introduction, man. It's an honor and a pleasure to be part of this podcast. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, pleasure's all mine. Usually, I've been blessed to have amazing guests on my podcast, and I love listening to them and to their wisdom. But talking to you, I may be a bit distracted because not only your message is powerful, but your style, wow, amazing, amazing. It has to be the little robots, here, that's the icing on the cake.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Very welcome. So as I said, let's get started. So as I told you last time when we spoke, the types of conversation I'd like to have on my podcast is to have a look under the hood, so to speak, to see what's in your heart, to have a heart-to-heart conversation, hence the name Leaders with a Heart. Sure, we're going to talk about your business, your impact, and all that a little bit later on. But first and foremost, for people who don't know you, who's Robert as a person and as a human being?
That's a tough question.
I know, huh?
Yeah,
Let's start with the best right away,
Wow. Okay, let's just dive straight in.
Yes.
Who is Robert? What you see is what you get. My wife says to me, everything I am is all in my face. My emotions, what I'm thinking. You only need to engage me to see what really is going on in my heart. I'm not that difficult to figure out. So what you see is what you get, and what you usually see is I tend to be really passionate about almost everything because I love life, and life is phenomenal. It's fantastic. There is so much awesomeness and so much good, going on in life, despite everything else that is happening. So I love to live passionately and I love to live fully. And that comes out in almost everything I do or I say. So it takes only a couple of seconds with anyone encountering me to kind of like see how I am in terms of the enthusiasm and the excitement and the passion I bring to just almost every conversation. Because that's just who I am. I'm a married man, a godfather to 2 kids. I don't have my own kids yet. I've been married going on 6 years now to a beautiful New York born, Minnesotan raised woman. moved from London, having lived in London for so long, like 22 years, to the city of Geneva here in Switzerland, because her work kind of relocated here. And it's been great. It's been amazing. We've built a wonderful community here in Geneva, met some great people and doing some fantastic work that it's quite exciting. So who is Robert? Meet him and speak to him, and you wouldn't need him to tell you who is Robert. You will find out for yourself who Robert is.
Yes.
And I love questions. So I love asking questions, and I love to be asked questions. That is how we get into the nitty-gritty things of things and to get to know each other. So yeah, this is essentially me. I cannot say any more about myself because I may sound a bit pretentious or worse, deluded. So yeah, ask me any questions you want to know about me, and I'll be happy to tell you the honest to God truth.
Awesome. Love that. So there's a lot that we will unpack, and I'm excited. So to start off first, I'm going to ask you a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you as a person, human being. Ready?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. What makes you happy as a person?
My wife.
Mm-hmm. Great answer. Okay. What makes you smile?
Kindness. It always makes me smile when I see people being kind to animals, to people.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Love that. Now let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches higher. What makes your heart come alive? What makes your soul set on fire in a good way?
Just seeing people rise above limitations.
Love that.
There's a good reason for that. If you want, I can explain to you.
Please.
So I used to be a dance teacher a while back and traveled all over Europe and all over the world. In fact, met my wife in Miami during a dance workshop, done workshop in Vegas and all over the States as well. But what I loved as a dance teacher was I loved the challenge of people telling me, oh, I've got 2 left feet and I can't move. And I say to them,
I'm one of them.
And I said to them, if you can walk, you can dance. They were like, no. And then I take them and we do like a Saturday boot camp in my studio for like 6 hours, 6-hour boot camp. We have first 2-hour session and then we have a break and then come back for another 2 hours. So when we start, I filmed them. The first hour, the first minute, I filmed them on their own phone before we start. And then we start the boot camp. And at the end, I filmed them again on their own phone. And I said, go home and have a look. You literally see their progress and their development in your eyes unfolding.
Wow.
Light in your eyes. Like the person that said this about themselves just like less than 7 hours ago, now they have a newfound confidence. There is a spring in their step. Their personality have come alive, and there's a new sense of belief. I've risen above a limitation that I've placed on my own self. And for me, that was untold amount of joy, untold amount of like, wow, you know, and it's always gladdens my heart to see students just killing it on the dance floor. Yeah. So that is just one aspect of that.
Beautiful. What kind of dances were you teaching?
It was a partner dance, like Semba, Kizomba, in those fields. And usually we have bachata and salsa on the side. But that was a past life, once upon a long time ago.
There's a guy on YouTube. He's from South America, from Peru or something like that. He started a YouTube channel. He was living in Madrid, Spain, just going on the street and just dancing with people and random people and just teaching them dancing. He did that, and within 5 to 6 months, his channel absolutely blew up, and he now is like 2 million followers and all that. Because what he was doing wasn't just teaching them to dance; he was basically giving an opportunity for people to let the inner child inside of them come alive
Mm,
and bring them smiles and bring
yeah,
them happiness. That's what
yeah,
people want.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
people are missing.
My wife and I, even last night at this birthday party we went to, the music comes on, and then we
Oh
exchange
yeah,
a look, and then we're gonna get down, and
it's
then
on.
we got
Yes,
people filming, and and it's not just you, the person. If you dance and the dance is pure and it's from the heart, it's really infectious. It infects
yes,
everyone with a sense of joy and happiness. You just transmit it.
totally.
Yeah.
Dance is, it's not only just like you said, a form of transmission of happiness, but also a very deep form of communication, not just between two people, but
Yeah,
everyone around, because it
absolutely.
contagiates to everyone.
Yeah,
Love
absolutely.
that. Love that. Awesome. Wow, this is starting well. All right. So, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
um, uh, I'm gonna have to be quite personal about it. It's
Mhm.
prejudice, because I mean, you look at me, with dreadlocks and whatnot, and uh, people sort of put you in a box even before they get to know you.
Yes,
So that's
unfortunately.
that's that's quite sad, in a way. But it's not a sadness that um fester into bitterness or anything. No, because bitterness is just like Mandela said, drinking poison and hoping somebody else dies. So it's not a sadness that festers into bitterness, but it's a sadness like, oh, if only you would have taken the time to get to know the person,
Mm,
things would have been quite different, because I am
totally.
not my hair, I am not my dreadlocks, I am not the hat I wear, I am not the fancy clothes I wear. There is so much more to me. And as much as it's always great that you change people's mind, or people come to change their mind about you, which has happened many times, by then a lot of opportunities have been missed, because they put you in this box. And yeah,
Yeah.
so that always kind of made me
I'm with
sad.
you on that, brother. I'm with you because it's sad to judge, just like the saying, you can't judge a book by its cover. You know,
Yeah.
there's so much more to the book than the cover. If you judge a book by the cover, you're missing like 99.9% of the content of the
Mm.
book. So absolutely. Now, what scares you?
um there I there and I'm gonna be really honest with you, and I've been working on this a lot, especially since we've moved here to Geneva, the idea of not being enough.
Mm. Enough to who? Enough to
Oh,
society's expectation, to
oh,
family,
even to
to
yourself, even to yourself,
yourself.
even to
Mm,
yourself. The idea of not being enough. And as I talk to most of the guys at GQM, I realized that this is something that wasn't peculiar to me.
mhm,
Whether in our relationships, in our families, or in our careers, the idea that am I doing enough? Am I being enough?
mhm.
So that used to scares me, that used to really scare me. And that came about because when we moved to Geneva September 2019, I have always worked. I worked 12 consecutive years for Warner Brothers up until 2 weeks before we moved to Geneva. Then I resigned. And then I was also traveling all over teaching dance, that people actually thought the dance was my main job. But no, I was using my holidays to travel to give dance workshops. So I was holding down two jobs. Then suddenly we find ourselves in Geneva and no job. So for the first 6 months, you could imagine, some of the internal
Sure.
conversations, like, what am I doing? I'm the man. I'm supposed to, be the one to bring home the bacon.
Yes, indeed.
So all kinds of internal questions and conversations keeps going on. And it always settles on, are you being enough? Are you being enough of a man? Are you being enough of
Mhm.
a husband? Are you being enough of a provider? Are you being
Yes.
enough? So that was a scary thought.
Indeed. Indeed. I hear you. I'm the same. I hear you. Now, what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
Observant. This is something that
Mm.
eludes a lot of people, but because I'm really out there and always
Yes.
getting passionate, but a lot of people don't realize that in all of that excitement and in all of that passion, I am also super observant.
Hmm. That's
I
important. Yeah.
can get into a room full of hundreds and hundreds, and I take the whole thing in without even
Yeah.
realizing. If I'm talking to somebody on one-on-one, I am 100% dialed in to that
Hmm.
person,
Yes.
tuning that person, 100% focused. And yes, some reason I can manage to feel everything happening around me.
Yes. That's important indeed.
Yeah, that's my number one secret superpower.
That's a powerful one. Wow. Now, let's talk about something that we both love, which is traveling. You like traveling, right?
I do like traveling, yes, sir.
What was your very first trip?
Ooh, my very first trip was soon after high school when I left boarding school in Ghana. And I knew I was going to leave the continent. I was
Mhm.
going to leave Ghana. I was going to leave the continent of Africa. So I wanted to see as much of it as possible. So I backpacked, believe it or
Wow.
not, when I was about 18. Um, and the first place I landed, took a flight from Accra. I landed in Nairobi.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was in Nairobi. So that was my first ever trip outside of Ghana, was Kenya. And then from Kenya to South Africa, and then from South Africa to Seychelles, and Seychelles on my way back, stop in Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia. Yeah. So I just saw quite a bit of the continent.
You
Uh,
know, there's a saying, especially in the spiritual world, that says everything happens for a reason. Listen to the to the cues you're hearing, and you're the second person in a row. Just before you had another wonderful girl from London, UK. When I asked that question, what's the first place you went to? What you went to? She said Kenya, and you're the second one that says Kenya again. So maybe it's the universe telling me, maybe get your ass on a plane and go find it to Kenya. You know?
it's a beautiful country.
Oh, I know, and wonderful people too. Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
I had a bit of a shock because I was not expecting it to be as cold. But
Yes, I was talking to a friend from Kenya yesterday, and she was wearing like a sweater inside. So wait a second, we're in the month of June, and you're in Africa. You're not in South Africa, which is the reverse season. So what's going on here? Are you sick? Oh no, it's cold. What do you mean it's cold? Okay.
yeah, I had a shock. Yeah, it can be quite cold there, but what an awesome people.
Oh yes.
People took me in, gave me the best of themselves, people that had very little. So a foreigner, a young kid, and
Mm,
it's so amazingly kind to me. And which funny enough, quick one.
yes.
Uh, because I was in a boarding school, uh, when I came back from school, my mom had taken in this young man and he was sleeping in my room. And I got mad. I said to my mom, where am I supposed to sleep? Why is he in my room? And my mom said, well, you can either sleep with your sister in your sister's room or sleep in the living room, or you can share the room with him, with this Bobby, we called him.
Hmm.
And then I got mad, and 17 years old, come back from high school thinking I'm all of that, and I don't have a place to stay in my own home, right? And my mom said to me, one day you will understand that when you take care of someone else's, someone you take care of your stuff, something like that, she said. Fast forward 9, 10 or so months, I go to Kenya, and this family just takes me in.
Wow.
Like absolutely, I slept on the best bed they had in their home. They gave me the best of what they had. and all of that. And it didn't even end there. I ended up in Mombasa as well. It was the same treatment. Uh, so everywhere I went, I cannot like have been shown some kind of kindness. So that's why I say there's a lot of good and there's a lot of wonderfulness and awesomeness in life, despite everything that is happening. So I personally choose to focus on the wonderfulness and the awesomeness of the humankind.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
mentioned something powerful. You said, people that have nothing, but they give me a lot. Some of the greatest gifts we can give to someone, they don't cost any money. Like, for example, a smile, respect, dignity, treating them with care, giving them your full and divided attention. That doesn't come with a price tag, but it can come with an incredible impact on the person you're talking to.
Absolutely. And look, this family,
Yes.
I don't even think they still remember me, or if I don't know. But
Still
here
in touch with them?
No, no.
Okay.
This was pre
Internet.
smartphone, pre.
You have their email or address. Maybe you can track him online and say, "Hey, you remember me?"
No, this was, bro. I'm talking about 1995.
Yeah, you still remember the address, the name. You can find him online. If you want to.
Yeah. It may take a lot of work, but
yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Now, let me take you down a different type of traveling, down memory line. Remember when we were young kids growing up, people around us, parents, teachers, family, relatives always ask us, so, Robert, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer as a young boy?
So
football player? No?
I had a silly, I had two fantasies when I was growing up. I wanted to become the African Steven Spielberg.
Oh, hey, you have the looks, my friend.
That's because I was so into Indiana Jones and and all of that. I'm like, I don't even want to be Indiana Jones. I want to be the man that is directing Indiana Jones. So I wanted to be, the African Indiana Jones.
Be the Bobiana Jones,
And the second thing I wanted to be, which funny enough, it's amazing how your childhood dreams and passion, if you look at it critically, it can be something that you actually live by. Growing up in Ghana, on the dusty streets of Accra and Kumasi, I've always wanted to help some of the young guys that were probably not sure of what they want to do, even during the day, during the school break, and all of that kind of stuff. So I was always kind of like coming up with ideas, organizing stuff we can do, stuff that got us out of trouble, because that was the main thing. Because if you don't find something to do, the devil will find something for you to do.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I was always, even as young as 11, 12, 13, I was always organizing, my neighborhoods, the kids, the guys, to do something, whether to play music. I couldn't sing, I couldn't do anything, but I'm like, hey, you can do that, you can do that, you can do this, you can do that. And it was kind of like fun like that. So I've always been that kind of guy. So it's not surprising that I organize communities, and I love getting people together to just have the same vision and the same purpose that actually bring some sort of impact to the community.
Beautiful. Love that. We're going to unpack that in a moment. Now, growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
I loved school. I loved school, and I think going to boarding school was probably the best thing my dad did for me, because it made me grow up fast. I loved school, but I hated mathematics. So
Me too.
goodness, I always,
Why did you hate math? Was it because numbers didn't make sense to you? Was it because you had a teacher that really turned you off from math?
Numbers didn't make sense to me. I would rather go to a literature class or economic class and then just listen to how things are done and understand the way systems works, and the story behind like I was going to even classes that were above me. I was sneaking in and I'll listen to them talk about the Roman Empire. That interested me. I talk about Alexander the Great or the wars of Julius Caesar and all that kind of stuff. It fascinated me.
Yes.
Those things really fascinated me. So I loved school. I loved school. Didn't do very well in my final exams. It was just enough pass to get me somewhere. But I really loved school. I loved reading. And all of that. So my relationship with school wasn't the best, but it was pretty good.
So you mentioned you love reading.
Yeah.
So was English your favorite, or whatever language was your favorite subject in school?
Yes, English literature.
Okay.
I read so many books than the school prescribed. I just read and read, loved stories.
Was there any topic you did not? Well, you mentioned math. Yeah. Now let's move on. Tell us about the very first job you ever had.
The very first job, just 2 or so weeks ago, I still have a contract of my very first job in Ghana. My very first job, I worked for a really prominent travel agency, and I still have the contract. With my salary and my holidays and all of that. So
frame it.
Yeah, all the agreement and everything. So I still kept it. And that was my very first job, working for a travel agency called Special Travels, Specialty, in Ghana.
Beautiful. You have the contract now, just frame it, put it in a frame.
I have it in my little cabin crew KLM bag, because from Specialty, then I worked with KLM for about 2 years. And I had my cabin crew bag. So that's why I keep all the documents. So I like open up like, oh, look at it, my very first contract. Yeah, but one day I will frame it and I'll display it somewhere.
How much were you making in your first ever job?
So on the contract, it says 120,000 Ghana Cedi. I don't know how much it is right now, but in Ghana terms, for a young man getting 120,000 at the time, it was quite a lot of money.
Was that per year? Was that per month? Per week?
That was per year. And I was getting quite a bit a month, so much so that I really didn't know what to do with the money, because in Ghana, unlike in Europe here, I wasn't paying any bills. I wasn't paying any rent. I was living in a family home. There was no utility bills to pay.
So roughly speaking, to give us an idea, how much is 120,000 Ghanaian Cedi, roughly speaking?
Right now, it probably will be, say, can you give me a sec? Let me just.
I'm gonna check as well. If you make me curious, I'm gonna check as well on my phone app. Yeah, one sec. That's interesting. Ghana, Ghana Cedi. Oh yeah, okay, see it. All right, so $1. Ghana. Oh, it's 8 Ghanaian Cedi. Okay, so 120,000.
So that would give you about
$15,000. Okay, US.
Yeah, roughly.
Oh wow! So I guess that's gives you a good spending power in Ghana, especially back then.
Oh yes, back then, yeah, it was pretty good. Because I remember my sisters would take money from me, and I loved giving it out. Not because I had it, but it was comfortable. And as a young man, it was really comfortable.
It's empowering. Yes, indeed.
I was fortunate.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, moving forward from the time you left school to now, how would you describe your path? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward? Once you get into one lane, you were set for life? Was it more like turns and twists, like a roller coaster?
Oh God, I would not have wanted to be a straight line,
Oh,
because
yes.
I
Boring.
don't I would have learned
Yes.
or grown, or so I am super super, and I'm not just saying this because I'm speaking in retrospect or in retrospection, but I am super grateful and thankful for the obstacles and all the challenges here and there that I
Mhm.
encountered in life. It was never straightforward, especially when I first decided to move and live in the UK at the age of 21, 22. And I arrived, like the year 2000, April 2000, and uh, it was a different world. It was all
Yeah.
okay and good when I used to come and visit my family for like a few days and go back to Ghana. But when I arrived to live there, it was a different story. It was a cultural shock, and yeah, it was not straightforward at all. But I wouldn't have had it any other way, because I've learned a lot. My skin have gotten a lot thicker.
Sure.
Very few things right now gets through to my blazer, never mind to my shirt or to my skin. Um, so a lot of things have happened along the way. It hasn't always been straightforward. I thought my career was all set. Left Ghana, KLM to Lufthansa, working at Heathrow Terminal 2. Then, things were even better then, young men in London getting great salary from Lufthansa, and, had a car, my own space, which was really rare at the time.
Mhm.
Then 9/11 happened, and then the whole airline industry took a massive nosedive, and I got laid off. So I went from up there to down there,
Yeah.
uh, and didn't know what to do. But somehow I managed to get myself an internship at BBC.
Oh,
Interned
wow.
there, yeah, interned there for three months. Then went to 6 months, and then I eventually ended up staying there for 3 years. Um, then left BBC for BFI, British Film Institute. Connected with a guy from Norway who was a filmmaker during a British Film Festival. Moved to Norway to get this film project going. Didn't happen. I got stuck in Norway. It rains a lot. It made me miss London, believe it or not. Came back to London, tried to start all over again, and landed a job at Warner Brothers, which I ended up staying up until September 2019. We moved here to Geneva. So there's been a lot of twists and turns. But through it all, God has been good. God has been faithful, and I am so thankful, and
Amen.
I'm so grateful.
Exactly. Amen. Now, you made a perfect segue. You mentioned when you went from there to there. So, there's a saying that says, change your story, change your life. And by story, I mean what we tell ourselves in our head all day long. So when you, Robert, at your lowest, you had to change your story in order to either change your life or bring your life to where you want it to be. How did you do it? Was it to the help of friends, family, books, uh, podcasts, videos, mentors? Tell us the process you used to change your story to change your life.
My mom,
Oh, yes.
my mom is probably, she doesn't know this. She really doesn't know this, but she's my greatest mentor.
Wow.
Uh, she has a way of saying just one sentence that unlocks.
The wisdom.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is a woman that's never been to the classroom. She's never been to school. She's not uh, in a societal sense of education. She's not educated.
Academic. Yeah.
No, she's not academic, exactly. But I remember when I was in Norway feeling one of my lowest of low, I was on the phone to her, and then she said something along the lines of, the growth is not on the mountaintop. The growth is in the valley.
Whoa, the journey. Yes, 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 yes.
And she said you can decide to start planting and start digging the soil and start fertilizing the soil in the valley where you are, or you can just stay there and nothing happens. So, but you can decide to do something in the valley. So for me, even though she probably didn't realize she was trying to rouse me up or encourage me or change the mindset, but basically what she was telling me was there is an opportunity in the valley. It may not be what I intended for to begin with, but there is an opportunity to maybe look at things differently. Because I love to hike. We hike all the time. We always want to get to the top, you know, to breathe the fresh air, to see the awesome view and all of that. Just 2 weeks ago, we hiked Saleb, and it was great when we got to the top. But it was really, really difficult, you know, to hike all the way up. There was a lot of moments where we felt like, okay, you know what, the view is great from here. Do we have to go all the way to the top? But we made it to the top. And once we got to the top, you know, and breathing the fresh air and enjoying the view. But then when we were somewhere down there in the mountain, making our way to the top, this is where we felt like the real joy was, the hustling and you know, having a target and working 1 foot at a time, placing 1 foot and watching where you step and all of that. So this was where the real joy and the real growth is. The morning. And then you get to the top, the feeling at the top feels so much better because of everything that happened at the bottom.
You've enjoyed the process, yes.
Yes, you know, I didn't give up. I tried. I kept going 1 foot at a time. I never quit. So the feeling on the top of the mountain is a byproduct, is a consequence of everything put at the bottom.
Totally. You know, there's saying in business that really mirrors perfectly what you just said. It says, the goal is not, let's say your goal is to make $1 million. The goal is not to get to $1 million, but the goal is the person you've become along the way to get there. That's the greatest reward. It's not the $1 million. $1 million is just the icing on the cake. The greatest unlimited amount of growth is infinitely more valuable than any amount of money. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So, love that.
What my mom said about the pain in the valley where the growth is, and that has always followed me.
Yeah.
And I try to pass it on as many times as I can with every opportunity.
Beautiful.
So that I'm feeling a little down.
You mentioned that your mother is has been so far your mentor, and she doesn't know it. Then you know what to do. Pick up the phone right after this call and tell her, "Hey, thank you for being my mentor."
I would do.
Seriously.
The reason she doesn't know it is if you know the relationship between my mom and I, if you hear me and her talk, my wife laughs all the time. We like friends. We take the piss at each other. We tease each other.
That's good.
We laugh, you know, and all of that. So if I bring something this serious, they'll be like, what are you talking about?
That's awesome. Your mom is with you in Switzerland, or she's back home in Ghana?
She's back home in Ghana, and we're going to see her next month, and she's super excited, and we're really excited to see her. So yeah, we're going to Ghana.
Tell her in both ways, on the phone and in person, and see the reaction. That would be amazing. Awesome, brother. That's awesome. Now, let's move even further. Let's talk now about the beautiful, wonderful impact you're having in the world. So tell us, what is Robert doing nowadays?
Nowadays, my time is split into 3. So I joke that I have 3 jobs, going from no job to 3 jobs. Again, that's the mentality aspect. Because remember when I said we first moved there, I had no job. So I was feeling, am I enough? Right? Am I doing enough as a man, as a husband, whatever? The situation is still the same, but the mentality is not the same. So nobody is still paying me, writing me a check every month, but I feel like I have 3 jobs.
Yeah.
The first job is I'm a house husband.
Yes.
I look after home. I take care of our lives. I organize our lives, and I do everything. I do the groceries when we have guests. I do the cooking. I clean the house. I do everything, and I'm very comfortable to say I'm a house husband. And my wife loves it. I love nothing more than she coming home and seeing the bathtub clean, and it's just like, oh, thanks, babes. And then she stays there for 2 hours with music and a glass of wine and relax. She's bought this nice pad, so she loves it when she come home to a clean bathroom after work, and she just relax. And then afterwards, we chill in the sofa right behind me here. So I'm a house husband. I take care of our lives.
That's awesome.
So that's my first job. My second job is obviously GQM, which all started because when we first got here, my wife had an after work event one Friday that I didn't get the invite. So I'm like, okay. But I had made friends just walking on the streets of Geneva and places I was doing some volunteer work. So I messaged a few of the guys to come hang out and drink some beer and have some pizza at home. So we did that on a Friday, and something, clicked at that hangout right here in this apartment I'm talking to you from. There were guys from different, social economic status. One guy was a soldier in the Swiss Army, another was a pharmacist, and another guy was a banker, and there were students. One was a student from Africa. But that day, there was no barrier. We were all men, just sharing beers and pizza and conversations, and and like we found out that there are certain things that men we share in common, certain pressures, certain struggles, and all of that. And in the conversation, people end up speaking into the lives of people without them realizing. And this is how it came about, because you, Lorenzo, your background, your education, your culture, your upbringing have shaped you the way you are.
Yeah.
And so have mine. So the way you look at things, I have never looked at it from that perspective, or I don't have the privilege of looking at it from that perspective because I don't have all the backgrounds you have. But if we're talking about a subject, a particular subject, is the perspective you will bring that will make me go, oh, wait a minute. I've never looked at that from that angle before. And that's probably what is going to unlock something in my mind and help me. That's what took place. Through our conversation, people were inspiring each other. People are like, oh, I thought I was the only one experiencing this. I thought I was the only one feeling like that. I thought I was, and I'm like, oh no, blah, blah, blah. It was like, so it was great. It was really, really great. And a lot of things came out. And they were like, hey, can we do this again next week? And I'm like, I'll have to check with the missus to see, because she keeps our calendar, to see what's up. Long story short, we ended up doing it the following month. So it became a monthly rhythm. And most of the guys brought their friends, and the people kept inviting people. And it became a thing. And we structured the conversation more. So people come, we have beers in the kitchen and pizza and food. And then we sit down here and we have really good in-depth conversation. And the conversation is aimed at how can we challenge one another? How can we inspire one another? How can we help one another grow as men, grow in self-leadership? How can we live more purposefully, less busily? Because sometimes men, we can be really busy, but how can we not, just go about doing things just to keep busy, but have a real sense of purpose as well? So that was the birth of GQM. So that's my second job. My third job is in my local church here. I'm quite involved in the local church. I lead the community groups here. We have about 35 community groups here in Geneva and 3 in Lausanne, and quite a lot of leaders as well. So I'm responsible for all the community groups of our church, and this is a lot of people dynamic.
What do you do at the church?
What do I do at the church? I look after all the community groups, meaning I help set up groups. I train the leaders. I equip the leaders, and I lead. My wife and I lead 2 different groups. One is a leaders one that every week we hold meetings. Basically, what the church does is that, you know, Geneva. There's a lot of people that travel to Geneva for short-term contracts, or for school and so on and so forth, or move here because of work, and they need a community. So the church opens wide our doors, and I always say not just our doors but our hearts as well, to people that wants to find community, that wants to find friends to do life with. So yeah, we just make spaces in different places in Geneva for people to connect with one another and do life with one another, celebrate one another, and just help people find that sense of, hey, I'm not alone in this city.
Beautiful, beautiful. Tell us more about your GQ movement. What's your vision with that? Where do you want to take it?
The GQ movement, the vision is really simple. The vision is, how can men really come together and inspire one another? Inspire one another in the sense of, how can we bring value to one another as men, but not just ending it there, but how can we take that into our communities being our workplaces, in our relationships, in our societies, in our homes, in our families, and be that positive influence, have that positive impact in our community. So GQM is simply really the coming together of men to grow and to develop ourselves in leadership. And when I say leadership, there is such a big umbrella with so many different things underneath it. So I like to say, how can we grow in self-leadership? Because before you lead anything or anyone, you have to lead yourself. How can we grow in self-leadership? How can we live a life that is more elegant? And when I say elegant, I use my nephew as an example, who is now 31, that wants to dress like me, wear blazers like me. And we were at a restaurant one time, and the way he spoke to the waitress, it wasn't really elegant. So the waitress, when she walked away, I said to him, so you want to wear a nice shirt and jacket like you do right now? What is the point of it if the way you spoke to the waitress, or the things that comes out from inside of you, is not as elegant as your outside?
Indeed.
But rather let your inside be elegant, and then it will naturally reflect on the outside. He got it right there. The waitress came back, he apologized to her, and then it got better. And he said to me maybe a few weeks later that he is being the same with his circle of friends. So GQ Men is really about that. How can we inspire? We all have nieces, we all have cousins, we have children, we have friends, we have colleagues. How can we become the kind of ripple effect in our circle to be better in society, to be better the way we are with people, to be better wherever we are? I say to my friends, yes, I know you love your fresh off the box trainers, your brand new Nike, and you go on this busy bus or busy train and somebody unfortunately steps on it. It's the way you are with those person.
Totally. So
It can happen. So it's the little things that makes the big thing, you know. So GQM is really the coming together of men to really grow ourselves and inspire one another, to really bring elegance from the inside, from within with us, so we can step out into our relationships, into our families, communities, and whatnot, schools and workplaces and playgrounds, and bring that elegance. And I believe we can do a whole lot for society and for communities if, you know, this thing really pops off here and there. And it is. So that's the vision. And now we have guys from Amsterdam, London, and Paris that tune in into our discussion. And it's growing. It's starting to take shape, and it's starting to take root. And for us to be able to all come together, that's why we're putting up this seminar in September.
Love that. Love that. So you're saying you want to help men. Do you have any specific avatar for a man or any man in general?
And the way I always say, it's for men, all men. It
Okay.
doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter your philosophy, what you subscribe to, what any man is the door is open. The
Regardless
door
of
in the heart is
age or
there is
background or
no barrier, any
that.
man.
Beautiful. Okay.
So my wife corrected me really sharply a few days ago. I was talking to a friend. I'm like, oh, GQM, anyone is welcome. And it was like, only men, no women are allowed. Get it right. I'm like, that's right. But because I prefix the statement with GQM, I thought, okay, it's obvious that I'm talking about men. But she was like, no, you have to
Hey,
leave
you
it.
could always do like a female version. You could, for example, get your wife to do it for women, GQ women, for example. Together, you
Um,
can combine together, just throwing
Well,
ideas.
I hope we get to sit down for a meal one time, whether in a home setting or in a restaurant, together with her, and then you can present this idea to her.
Anytime. You can
I,
invite her, you can talk right
I would
after.
like you to be the man to do that.
All right. Anytime. It would be fun. Yes.
Just spare a brother, and then you take on that mission for me.
Absolutely. I would be an honor, but yeah, just throwing some ideas.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Why not?
awesome. Now, tell us about the event you're going to be throwing up hosting in September.
Yeah, the event is quite exciting. So there were two ideas behind the event. One was how can we make it attractive and accessible for all men?
Mm.
So attractive in the sense that we aspire to a life of elegance. We aspire to be elegant. So we chose a really elegant location at Fairmont Hotel, and it's super duper
Oh,
elegant.
wow. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah, it's every time I step into the corridors and I picture the scene, men, in their finest attire, just connecting and networking and just being happy with each other. So we chose that location. And the second aspect to that was how can we make it accessible, because we didn't want money to be an issue, and we didn't want to say, hey, we're charging you this X amount to come to the seminar. So we made the registration free for everyone to attend. So that was the first thought, attractive and accessible. The second thought behind the seminar was how can we bring content to the seminar that impacts men so much so that they go and be like, that stone you throw into a pond and sends out a ripple effect. So I've often said it's not enough for someone to say to me, oh, Robert, I had a really good time at the seminar. That's good, but it's not enough. And they are going to have a good time. It's not enough for a man to say to me, hey, Robert, I was really impacted by the seminar, and they will be impacted, but for me, it's not enough. So the question then is, what will be enough? What will be enough is we want to see the fruit of that impact. How can you take what you got from the seminar and you go out there and you live a life in such a way that it impacts others in your spheres? That's what will be enough for me. Because it's not just for us. GQM is not just for us. We grow ourselves, we get better so that we can go and impact the world out there, however that world looks like.
Beautiful. So you're going to be bringing some experts in key areas of business and life and mindset to come and talk, and so that everybody can learn and benefit from.
Nicely. So Friday, the seminar we programmed it this way. The Friday night on the 2nd of September, we have what we call a black tie dinner gala. So black tie dinner gala, we want to give the men opportunity to spruce up, to come,
step up their game.
Step up the game. And look, men, we love to dress up. So just as women that. So let's give ourselves opportunity to dress up and then come to Fairmont, have some drinks, some cocktails, and then we have a sit down meal. the reason for the sit down meal is whenever the guys come here right from day one of GQM, there is always drinks and meals at home. There is always pizza. So we wanted to take that same idea and because men, I love to eat. I don't know about you. We love
I
to
love to eat too. Yeah.
so I'm like, if they're coming to GQM, they gotta be food and they gotta be drinks. So we have a black tie dinner gala and there'll be some inspiring and fun speeches and then a keynote speech for the Friday night. Then the Saturday morning is what I call leadership download, where we'll have a leadership breakfast meeting. And we have two speakers that will be speaking at that leadership breakfast. And I say that we want to get through to the hearts of the men through their bellies. So
yes.
A full American breakfast. We're gonna eat to the pub and then we're gonna
eat like a king,
Yes.
To be a king, you have to eat like a king,
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're gonna speak leadership at that breakfast meeting. Then there will be a long break. People can check out Geneva and hang out. And then from late in the afternoon, from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock, this is where the main event is. It's going to be awesome, crazy, fun, interactive workshops and an awesome keynote speech that is going to be so involving. The idea is we don't want men to come and sit for 45 minutes just listening to one person speak.
What are the dates?
So 2nd and 3rd of September. 2nd is Friday, so it's the Friday night Black Tie Dinner Gala. And then the 3rd is the Saturday, where we'll have the breakfast meeting in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we have the 2 GQM main event, which is going to be crazy.
So that's the first event, right? The first big event?
That's the inaugural seminar, yes.
How often do you want to do that? Once a month, once a year, once every
once a year, because GQM has a monthly rhythm where we meet once a month anyway. So the once a year seminar is actually the bringing together of all the men from different cities like Paris and London that connect via Zoom to our monthly meeting.
Oh, yeah.
So that was where the idea came from. How can we be together one day? But then it became quite big and different people getting involved. So, okay, let's do a seminar. But for the first one, let's just limit it to 200 to 250 people. And then see, we have, I already can see 10 years from now.
Every city in Europe, in the world,
is crazy and it's exciting. But
I know.
The trouble with a visionary is it can be quite painful thing to be a visionary because you can see how things can be in the future, but then you wake up to reality to deal with reality.
Day-to-day details. Yes, I'm like you. I'm the visionary guy, the big picture, but the details. That's not me. Hire someone and get someone to take care of the details.
So that's what I'm doing right now, working out the details and get this seminar going, and it's exciting. And and we made it a free registration for
good
everybody to be able to register.
You mentioned keynote speakers. Do you have a list of the people that are going to be speaking and what they're going to be talking about? Tell us more about that.
So I have been to a whole lot of conferences and seminars where it was advertised on the name of the speakers, which is right. This is a smart thing to do. So I wanted to try something different. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but I'm trying it anyway. Where I don't want to advertise or even speak about the names of the speakers. I'm like, come, and I want GQ Man to be able to stand on his own. So come and be impacted. And the speakers are going to be there and they're going to speak certain things in our lives that you will not even think about the speaker, but the thing that is spoken to you and what is the effect is having in your life. I don't want us to place so much focus on me, so much focus on the speakers. I want us to place focus and emphasis on what we get out of the seminar and how we act upon that. So there will be speakers. We already have a theme for the Friday night, what we're going to be talking about. And It's exciting. And the Saturday morning, what leadership aspects we're going to be talking about, and we'll open it up for Q&A at the end. And also at the main event, oh my goodness, they have no idea what I plan, what the plan is. People are gonna be like, but it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
I'm excited. Can't wait. I would be interested in attending it myself, but let's see how things will be by end of August, early September. But hey, who knows? Maybe I'll drop by, but we'll see. I'm interested.
Save you a special seat, and I know the situation with COVID is not so great in your country, so you're waiting to see.
Right now, for us, is not getting to Switzerland, but living in Canada. That's the issue.
Living in Canada. Yeah. So let's wait and see.
Yes. If not this one, but the next one, absolutely. Even whenever I get to Switzerland, I'll have two wonderful friends, you and Daniel. Will be awesome to go on a dinner together or lunch, whatever.
And don't forget, you still need to have that conversation with my wife. So
bring her in. Yes, bring her in. Absolutely, absolutely. If anything happens, I'm not responsible.
So I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy how all that unfolds.
I will take the credit, but I will not take the blame. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm like, let's see how this unfolds.
I'm joking. Yeah, absolutely. Anything will be a pleasure. Wow, awesome. Let's move forward. So now, if someone wants to find out more about this event in Switzerland that you will be hosting in Geneva at the start of September, where can they find out more information about it?
We have a website, which is simply gqmgeneva.com.
Okay.
And also on our Insta page, which is GQM Geneva.
Beautiful.
It's so simple, GQM Geneva or GQM
All right.
Geneva.
I'll put that in the show notes. But now, let's wrap things up. To finish off, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Advices. Oh, wow.
No, advice, not vice, advice.
Okay, advices. Okay.
Yeah. So what would you say has been so far the best piece of advice you've received in your life?
Don't take the path of least resistance.
Yes, indeed. What has been so far the worst piece of advice you've received so far?
Other
than get a job,
the worst piece of advice I've received so far was, be careful with your money. I still get that a lot. Be careful with your money.
Well, yes. Mm-hmm.
And this, I know people listening, this is gonna cut both ways, because all we hear about is be careful with your money, be wise and save and save and save. But for me, I think it's the worst piece of advice. Because the more I'm careful and hold on to money, the more I lose value of that money. But the more I let it go, the more value it returns to me. Because money is supposed to be always in motion. The faster the motion, the faster it moves in and out. That's why we call it a currency, right? It's the currency. Oh, wow. That is very powerful indeed. Yes. Yeah. I never looked at it this way. Wow, that's amazing. Current. Yeah. What you just said there, that is GQM. That you just said. I never Give me 10, brother. Give me 10. That's awesome. That is GQM. GQM right in motion. Wow. Awesome. No, that is really true. Really true. Wow. All right. Awesome. Now, imagine that you were blessed with a time machine. You can go back in time and sit face to face with an 18-year-old Robert. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to him, knowing all that you know now? Be joyful and give thanks in the worst of circumstances. Oh, yes. Because happiness is an internal job, not external. Yeah. Exactly. Because even the worst circumstances is there to teach us something, to grow us. We only find out in retrospect. As within, as without. Everything is a lesson. Not ask yourself, what did I do to deserve this? Or why me? But what is this trying to teach me? What is a lesson for me to learn from this? Absolutely. Awesome. Now, do you have your own podcast yet? No. What's the number one reason holding you back? I've been bugged and hassled about it for so long, and I have thought about it. Your friend Daniel Caleb is one of those that is on my case about a podcast. Sometimes we're talking and we're like, I should record this. I should record this. You're dropping nuggets. I think it will come. It will come
Everything in the
now.
right time. Yes.
It's in the right time. Right now, there's a big focus on GQM.
Yes.
Maybe when GQM is sort of on its feet and people have seen the value of what we're doing and want to come and really be involved to make it more, run on its own, then that would probably free me to do other stuff. But at the moment, it's a lot on my shoulder and on Caleb's. So yeah, once we get a better head in GQM, it probably will free my time to look at it.
Awesome. Well, when you're ready, come to me, because that's exactly what I do. What I teach people, help them get their voice out through the podcast and get the exact ideal client, paying client through podcasts. So I'm here for you, brother. But imagine now that today you have your very popular podcast, and today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, which is yourself. You're interviewing yourself. What is the number one question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What is the first question that comes to your mind?
What is your purpose?
Oh, and what is your answer?
The answer is in finding what really excites you to do, what really gets your heart pumping.
Wow.
People call it passion, but whatever it is that makes you excited to get up in the morning to go to, whatever it is that you look forward to doing, that is your purpose. You find your purpose in that.
Love that.
Turn passion into purpose.
Love that. The last question I'll ask you in this podcast episode, and that's my favorite question, and that is, what is the smallest thing you've done in your life that has had the greatest positive impact for you? And by small, I don't mean something small. I mean the one thing you've done. For me, for example, has been starting my podcast. What about you, Robert? What has been so far the one thing you've done that has had the greatest positive impact for both your life and your business?
Asking a bunch of guys to come over to my apartment for beer and pizza.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's funny because sometimes something as we might think as insignificant can really have a ripple effect and become something massive. It can life-changing in some ways.
This is exactly it. This is literally changing my life. It's changing,
giving you a direction, a purpose, a passion,
Yeah. And exactly it.
Awesome. Listen, Robert, brother, absolute pleasure, honor, privilege talking to you. I love talking to you. I can't wait till I actually have this conversation in person. And of course, for me to tell you what you do to complete the mission you asked me to do, So listen, so if someone wants to connect with you now, whether about GQM or anything, what is the best way to do so?
The best way to do so is either my personal email or can email me via GQM on Instagram. But my personal email is available for anybody to reach me. And I always make time for people. I don't know how I do it, but I always make time for people.
Share your email now, and I'll also put it on the show notes.
Yeah, it's King-Sarfo@gmail.com. So it's it's my name, Robert King-Sarfo, but it's King-Sarfo@gmail.com.
All right, awesome. I'll put it in the show notes. So listen, Robert, I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with your presence, with your smile, with your dances, with your sense of fashion, with everything you're doing, with your presence, most importantly, your impact. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you. We're definitely going to be talking a lot more in the future.
And it's been a real honor and a real pleasure. So thank you for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. Take care.
Enjoy the weekend.
Same here. Cheers. Bye.